were saying is hot. Is in the top of the whole world. Everybody wants to come to Miami. Why?
It's an amazing city. I mean, I moved here back in the early 1980s. I grew up in Chicago, and what got me to come here was two things. The freezing cold winters, which is a big driver for people that live in the north, whether it be Chicago or the Midwest, or New York, Boston, Washington. So Miami's the most tropical city in the United States. There's no other city that even begins to compare from a climate standpoint and geography to Miami. I mean, if you look at California, San Diego is the southernmost city in California. You draw a line across the United States, that probably puts you in North Carolina on the East Coast. So there's really nothing tropical on the West Coast, California. And in Florida, this is it. I mean, Miami is a unique place. It appeals to people from all over the world. In our estimation, I mean, it's certainly been this way the last 50 years, I would say. But I think over the next 50 years, we see Miami, along with New York City, as being the two most important cities for development and to live in the United States. Florida just replaced New York a few years ago as the third most populated state in America. So after California and Texas, Florida is now the third most populated state in the country. It's the fastest growing state in the United States. There's no state income tax here. So for American purchasers, that's a big driver, economics. You don't pay a state income tax. But for people from outside the United States, listen, Miami's obviously the capital of Latin America now. The direct flights really opened up back in the 80s when I first moved here to every major city in Latin America. Then in the 90s, you saw the European flights starting, those are really the two key things. Getting the airlift into the city is a huge growth determination factor. And now you're seeing flights opening from the Middle East. Qatar Airlines flies daily to Doha. Turkish Airlines getting ready to start flight service next month in October to Istanbul. I've heard that Emirates plans on starting flights to Dubai. So we're going to see, I think, a huge peak from the Middle East clientele, and I'm hearing that some of the Asian airlines are going to start flying nonstop in the next year or so to Shanghai and Beijing. So those are markets that have never discovered Miami that'll be discovering. And I think you're always going to see the American, especially people from the Northeast, come here for the wintertime. And 70% of the city speak Spanish, so it's always going to be a huge Latin market. But now with the addition of the Middle East and the Asian markets, we see that as being tremendous for Miami. So you can't create any more real estate. There's a limited supply of real estate, but now the demand we see is increasing dramatically. There's a lot of people putting their money here. America is considered a safe investment, and Miami's a perfect place for that. And the best thing, you can't spend a week in your stock portfolio. So real estate's always performed the number one investment, even over the stock market, over history. And so we think Miami real estate is the best of the best, because where would you rather spend your time?
Impresionante, no se muevan porque seguimos con mucho más.